Hey there, welcome back to the Foreign Language Roadmap podcast. I am your host, Elena Aber, and today we are diving into something a little bit different but incredibly powerful. It is storytelling. If you have ever noticed how some words just stick better when they're part of the story, or how you feel like you're more confident when you're telling a story and not just isolated words, that's what we're talking about. How to use storytelling as a secret weapon to boost your memory and your speaking skills, making language learning more natural and fun. And if you have been here for a while, you're familiar with my approach and you're interested, you might already want to create a system that fits your real life. You can go ahead and grab the step-by-step workbook in the description to this episode. It's simple, it's hands-on, and it will help you build a learning routine that sticks without needing more willpower. So let's start with the big question. Why storytelling? What does it have to do with learning a foreign language? Our brains are literally hardwired for stories. From the moment that we're kids, that's stories that help us make sense of the world. Think about how children learn through fairy tales, through cartoons, bedtime stories. This narrative shape how we remember and understand new ideas. We follow from the beginning. We get nervous for the character. We worry about it or we're happy for it, and we wait for that finish line of a happy ending of how the story ends. Because stories do something special that plain lists or drills just can't do for us. They create emotional connections, guys. When we hear or tell a story, our brain releases chemicals. It's like dopamine, which boosts attention memory. And that's why we tend to remember a story way longer. And we might forget some random facts about it, but we will remember the storyline. On top of that, stories also give us structure. They organize information in this meaningful way with a clear beginning, with a middle, and with the end. So our minds can follow along and make sense of what we're learning. When we try to memorize a list of just isolated random vocabulary words, it's easy for our brain to see them as some disconnected pieces, and that makes it harder to retain. But when those words are woven into a story, suddenly it's just alive. It's an alive thing. It has context, feelings, and a logical flow, and that makes them much easier to recall and use naturally. And here's the thing. Storytelling isn't some advanced skill that is only reserved for writers or speakers. It is something that we do every single day without even thinking about it. When you tell a friend about your day, or you share a funny moment that happened, or explain how something worked or didn't work, you are telling a story. So if you can tell a story in your native language, you already have a great foundation. That's great news for all of us. The challenge here now, yes, there's always a challenge, but it also could be the opportunity. That is to use that natural skill in your new language to improve your speaking and your memory. I mean, how great is that? To tell a story, especially if you love telling some funny moments of your day or something that happened here and there. That is already a great way to start working on speaking and your memorization. Because by tapping into this storytelling, you are not just memorizing words, you are living the language. You are connecting words to real life experiences, to the emotions that you're going through and the relationships that you're creating. And that's where the magic happens. That's what makes learning stick. Personal story coming up, guys. So if you don't like personal stories, which is very rare that I come across people who don't like personal stories, you might want to skip this part, but it's worth hearing. Here's a little behind the scenes look at how I use storytelling in my own language practice, especially during my language exchanges and sessions with tutors. And trust me, I didn't start intentional with it. I wish I did. I wish I knew about this sooner. but I learned this through experience, and then I dug deeper to find out why this works so much better than when I like try to practice vocabulary for a topic or something. Anyway, before each conversation, either with my language exchange partners or with my tutors for different languages, I take a few minutes to think of 3 or 4 recent life situations that I could share with them. And these are simple moments from my day or my week, maybe something funny that happened at the grocery store with my kids, with my husband, with this community that I live in, a small challenge that I had to deal with while, maybe cooking. I like to batch cook, I like to plan, I like to organize, and there's always something that doesn't go according to plan. So there's always stories to tell. I also love to travel, so sometimes I take a little piece of what has happened on my travels and talk about that. Why do I do this? Because having that handful of stories ready helps me speak in a way that's coherent and it's more natural. Instead of scrambling for random words or phrases and feeling like I'm just not good at this, I'm telling a story with a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's like having this roadmap for my conversation, which reduces that awkwardness, especially when you don't really have a lot in common with your tutor or with the language exchange. You don't know them that well yet. And instead of freezing up, feeling awkward, searching for words, I have that roadmap that I just follow. And what's really cool is that when I prepare these stories in advance, I often discover vocabulary gaps, words or expressions that I don't know yet how to say. And like, for example, I might want to describe how I felt or explain specific detail, but I realize that I don't have the right phrase. And that's a golden learning moment. I write those words down, I ask my tutor or language exchange partner how to say them, and then ask for some ideas how else to apply them, and then immediately use them in context. This makes learning feel targeted, relevant, and way more memorable than random vocabulary drills, not drinks. But here's something even more meaningful that comes from storytelling. It's connection. When I share those personal stories, I'm inviting my language partner or tutor into my world. And when they share their stories back, it creates this bond. We're no longer just practicing. We're no longer just learning a skill. We are connecting and we're sharing experiences. We're sharing our personalities. And this emotional connection, it changes everything. It transforms my learning experience 100%. It stops feeling like a chore or a task that I have to do. And instead, it becomes this warm, fuzzy, real exchange between people that let each other into our world. And that makes me look forward to my sessions, and it helps me feel confident speaking because it's about more than just words. It's about being, connecting, and creating something. So storytelling in my language practice isn't just a technique. It's the heart of how I learn and how I build relationships in a new language to make it so much more enjoyable. Okay, we are done with the with the personal story, with the fuzzy emotional part of this podcast. Now let's get practical. You don't need to be a writer or a speaker to perfectly tell a good story in your target language. The key here is to keep it simple and structured. This makes you speaking much easier to follow, and it gives you confidence, and it makes it clear of what you're trying to say. Here are 2 easy storytelling frameworks that you can start using right now to turn everyday experiences into practice in gold. So here's the 3-part story framework. This is one of the simplest and most natural ways to organize your story. Think of it like a mini movie with 3 parts. It should be the beginning. That's where you set the scene, when, where did it happen, who was involved, what was the situation, how'd you get there. Then you have a middle where you describe the problem, the challenge, some interesting moment that just makes you go like, what happened that made this story worth telling? What happened there? And you just like want to know what's the point of this whole story. And then you move on to the end of the story. Explain how it ended or what you learned from it. This part, honestly, always my favorite because I love uh, gathering some lessons, some moral of the story from everything that I do. And that is always kind of like feels to me as a complete circle of a story. Like, I don't know, it just satisfies me to have that moral of the story, that what you learn from it. So anyway, this structure helps keep your story focused and engaging because it gives you listeners something clear to follow, and it gives you a roadmap for what to say next without feeling like, what do I say? What do I say? When you use this method for storytelling, it not only allows you to practice vocabulary, but it also helps you with the sequences and the connectors like then, but, so, and all of those things. They're very natural and practical. Moving on to the second method of second framework for telling a story, the 5 W's. This method helps you build sort of fuller stories by answering 5 simple questions that cover the essentials of any event or any experience that you've had. First one is who was involved. Then what happened, when did it happen, where did it take place, and why did it happen, or why was it important. Using these questions is a great way to add some more detail without feeling like you were getting lost in details, feeling overwhelmed by grammar, complex sentence structures, and everything. It's like filling in the blanks. Like, imagine as if you have this big blank piece of paper with little questions, and you're filling up with simple phrases, and you're taking the moments where you don't know how to say something, you filling it in, you research it, you translate, and you put it in, and you learn how to naturally express yourself. And that it allows you to expand your vocabulary, your sentences, and your memorization, also emotional connection to this whole thing. Actually, up to this day, I still have flashcards. I love flashcards with spaced repetition. I have several episodes on that. So if you're interested, go and find those episodes. But the point is, I use those flashcards ever since I started doing language exchanges and working with tutors in Italian, French, and Spanish. And I have a specific folder in each of those languages for my conversations. I call them Skype conversations because they were, back then, Skype was the way we started. We were using it. And so I call it Skype, the folder is called Skype Conversations, which is very interesting because every time that I work on those folders, I get this warm feeling because all that vocabulary and all of the phrases came from our conversations and from our storytelling and from sharing experiences and all that. And I still, every time when I see those words that came from those stories, they just warm me up a lot. So coming back to the practical part of this podcast. I don't know why I keep drifting into the emotional part today, but anyway, with this formula, the framework of telling a story, once you've answered those questions, you can link them into sort of a flowing story, or you can just share some key facts about the story. And over time, as you practice more and more, you'll be adding more feelings, more opinions, extra details to make it more engaging and more emotional to both of you. You might be wondering, like, why do I even need to use a framework for a storytelling, especially if you're already comfortable telling stories, and you might be feeling like, I'm just fine just telling as it is. And it's fine. If you don't need any help, that is totally fine. What I'm doing here is giving you suggestions if you need some advice and someone who has been in that place. So why even use these frameworks? First of all, because they help you reduce that pressure when you need to come up with something to say on the spot. When you have a story to tell, it's so much easier. They give you this clear roadmap, and I love roadmaps. If you have paid attention, that even my podcast is called Foreign Language Roadmap. It is step-by-step path that you follow that takes pressure off your brain to just follow step by step that you created, because now you know that it's meaningful. And they help you practice useful connectors. Sometimes we don't realize that we use these connectors in our native language, and to sound more natural and sound more comfortable in the language, connectors are very important. And at the same time, they're flexible enough to use for any kind of story. It could be from funny moments to sad moments to daily routines and all. So try this out. For your next conversation, if you already have a language exchange partner or tutor, you can pick a simple story from your day and use one of the frameworks that we talked about today to prepare. And then pay attention if it is easier for you to speak when you have a plan or not. And storytelling, I mean, obviously, it's not about perfection. It's about sharing the experience in a way that makes sense and connects you with the other person that you're talking to. So with these frameworks, it's just so much easier. It's a tool that helps you do just that. So now that you have simple storytelling frameworks, the next powerful step is to turn your everyday life into your very own language practice playground. This is where language learning stops feeling like a chore and it starts becoming more like a natural part of your day. Here's a simple, practical habit that I can suggest that you build right away. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on one small event from your day. It could be some short chat with your neighbor, a funny or surprising thing that your child said, or a quick trip to the store. And maybe even the moment that something didn't go as planned, like happens to me all the time. Maybe a new food that you tried or smell that reminded you of something special. And once you pick that event, tell yourself just a quick story about it. I mean, like 5 sentences about it. You can write it down in your journal or your notes using the framework that we just talked about. And that will help you organize your thoughts and notice where you need to fill in with grammar or vocabulary or some connectors or anything. You can also record yourself telling the story out loud. And this is great for practicing pronunciation, for noticing your progress. As you go forward, you'll go back to the recordings and you will see how much different it is. In one of the previous episodes recently, I was talking about the idea of creating a Telegram group, a Telegram chat, just for yourself, where you can record voice messages and just leave them there just for yourself, because if you do it consistently, you can come back to it even a week, a month later, and you will see how much different it is if you do it regularly and consistently. You can also always share your story with your language partner, with your tutor, even on social media, or if you would like some support and have a community of like-minded language learners, I have an offer for you. I have a community called the Language Lab, where we do monthly theme, most of it related to learning a foreign language. It's also about time management, mindset, and the tools that we use for language learning, but it's all kind of in the same ball of wax with towards the language learning, helping you stay on track with your language learning. So we have this community, the Language Lab, that has monthly theme, weekly lessons, and daily challenges, where we support each other. We tell each other different stories, we give support, we give ideas, and this could be a place for you to join in and to see if you can, if it will help you stay more accountable with your language routine. You can find the link to it to join the community. You can find the link to it in the description to this episode. So Why is it so effective to tell stories? When you are telling a story, you are connecting to your life, which instantly makes all of the vocabulary, all the phrases more meaningful. It is also more relevant and real to you because the stories that come from your life, from your daily experiences, and you're more likely to use the language naturally when the situations like that arise again. Our brains, I should say, our brains remember stories, especially emotional ones, or funny ones, or sad ones, any emotions basically, much better than some isolated vocabulary lists. And repeating this habit, the storytelling thing, means that you're practicing speaking regularly. And as you build up this habit, you'll start noticing that you want to tell more and more stories and in more and more detail. And that will help you build your confidence, more of a vocabulary, grammar points, and everything. Over time, this habit will be one of the things that make a huge difference in your language learning routine. So, to wrap it all up, let me just say that storytelling isn't just for writers or speakers, as I already said multiple times. It's for everyone, especially for language learners, for those who want to remember more, to speak more naturally, and to actually enjoy the process and have connections with people. So try picking one story from your day to share. You can use the simple frameworks to connect it with your feelings and share it with someone. Make sure that you share it with someone. If you want a little help getting started, you can check out the step-by-step workbook in the show notes. It will give you some simple practical tips and will help you build a learning routine that you can stick to. Thanks for listening to Foreign Language Roadmap, and if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow language learner. Until next time, keep telling your stories and keep learning your way. See you later.